The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
There we go, and load it up as you would expect. It's a game week for Tennessee, sort of, as they try to get their underclassmen, freshmen in particular, newcomers, adjusted to class, which begins this week. So it'll be sort of a pseudo game week for a lot of Tennessee's freshmen as they learn how to get to class, how to do all that stuff. But let's be honest, does class even matter anymore? These are paid athletes. We'll get to that a little bit later. Also, Tennessee officially closes fall camp, and I've got some news on a player we haven't talked about that is, I believe, going to be an all-SEC player eventually. I was the first to tell you, I believe, that Brew McCoy was uber talented, was fitting right in. Now, the injury sidetracked that. I think we were ahead of the curve on Dylan Sampson for sure, and I know we were ahead of the curve on Darnell Wright. Elijah Simmons is another that we believe we're ahead on the curve on as long as he stays healthy. So I'm going to give you the freshman that showed up on campus and is wowing some players. Also, a strange exchange with Cam Seldon as his health comes into question. And I don't think Josh Heupel wanted to talk about it. Pretty much, I think that's where it was. And I don't think that Cam Seldon's going to be 100% by the opening of the season. But we'll talk about that. Also, pass protection, why I don't think that is any sort of concern for Dylan Sampson, Tennessee's featured running back to stay in Tennessee football history. We're going to predict the Vols' schedule game by game. I'll probably be right. I don't know exactly what Caleb has coming up. But also some odd comments about the NIL that are illegal by a coach you know and a coach you may have even wanted to hire at one point. 5 bold predictions for the Vols 2024 season, the stat of the day, and more. Caleb Calhoun, how are you, sir?
Pretty good. Just one quick correction. This is 5 bold predictions for the overall 2024 season. We made a prediction for the Vols yesterday, so this is for college football in general.
The overall season. Okay, I'm down with that. Go ahead, and if you can please hit like and subscribe, you're going to get a lot of information about the SEC, about Tennessee, and some pretty opinionated takes that, quite frankly, are usually right. I'm just going to be honest with you. That takes us to 4 downs, and it's brought to you by our good friend Medicare Misty. Again, she's regulated in over 40 states, so no matter where you're watching, she can probably help you. No charge for her services. 4 downs now, brought to you by Medicare Misty.
4 downs. 4 questions. 4 answers. The Dave Hooker Show.
4
downs. A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
So Tennessee has essentially closed preseason camp. And I know some of you are saying, well, there's still a week left before game week. But you start to really ramp it down. And I've been doing this for a quarter of a century. You start to really ramp it down this last season. You do some special teams work. You're where you need to be by this point. So while it may seem like, yeah, that they are going out and practicing every day, essentially the preseason camp portion of finding your best players, getting them on the field, having a depth chart in your mind is the goal of preseason camp and just in general overall improvement. So I think there are some very definitive things that we have learned about Tennessee in preseason camp. And we'll do that with 4 downs. Coop, what should people do?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Thank you, Coop. And what down is it? Number one thing I've learned, Boo Carter is going to be a starter or play a lot. I mean, maybe because he's a freshman, he doesn't get the starting nod, but he's going to be your guy out there at that star position. I believe that key situations, Boo's your guy. That's the number one thing I learned. I expected it coming in. It's not a surprise, Caleb, but Boo's going to be a player.
Yeah, we absolutely expected it. And it was even more clear when Josh Heupel gave his presser to wrap up fall camp on Monday, because he was asked about specifically Christian Harrison to fill in the void for Jordan Thomas. And Josh Heupel said, yep, Christian Harrison done good. Let me go to Boo Carter. Boo Carter's also done great. And just like, volunteering Boo Carter. No one asked about Boo Carter. Josh Heupel's making it very clear. He and his staff are all in on trying to make sure that Boo Carter, if he's not going to be a star, well, then this is a miss by the coaching staff, because they are all in on at least trying to force him to be a star then.
Yep, totally agree with you. What down is it, Cooper Mays?
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
That's right. All right, second down. Left guard's not done. And I can tell you this, talking to some people within the program since the last time we spoke yesterday, you've got a situation where Andre Keurig, I believe, is ready to take that step. And I believe he'll be better than last year, but he's been a little bit banged up. And Shamarad Umarov has done a good job. Jackson Lampley, we'll see. I don't know that he has the physical ability to be able to compete at this level. But the one thing I can tell you is left guard's not done. It's not necessarily a bad thing. If Andre Keurig's 100% healthy, I believe he'll play at a higher level than last year, but only so much higher, Caleb. So left guard is not done. That would be the one position on the entire field that I would say, man, if you had another week, that's the one you'd want it on.
Left guard's done in the sense that it's going to be the weak link of Tennessee football this year. I'm sorry, guys. If you haven't figured this out a week before the start of the season, that's a problem. And because it's not like they don't have guys not in the program, Dave. We're talking Jackson Lampley's, what, a 5-year guy in the program? The one that they put all that money out to get last year from Texas, Andre Keurig, who was awful last year. We all thought might take a step forward this year. Hasn't taken a step forward this year. At what point do we just say the position's over? They're not going to find somebody.
Well, you have to factor this in. There's no preseason in college football. However, there is Chattanooga. There are opponents like that where you can get a lot better. And again, I think Keurig's going to be the guy, just banged up recently. So I think that's a concern. I will still say that I think Keurig 100% can be a B to B plus offensive lineman for this team. You're probably more along the lines of C average or even lower.
Probably even lower. And I'm going to say this, and Dave's about to kill me, guys, because he's like, no, we can't do this when we recap games. We have to take things seriously. There's going to be a left guard stand out against Chattanooga. And we're like, oh, maybe he's the future for Tennessee at left guard. And then we're going to realize very quickly, no, he just played against Chattanooga.
Well, true. But you do learn, like, any chemistry. Okay, let me see if I can put this in a better formulated statement. I think Andre Keurig will be better this year. I think that he got banged up and that hurt his chemistry on the team. I think games like Chattanooga are basically glorified scrimmages, and you can work on that chemistry. So that's where I would stand. So I think he can be better, but it's not done. And I don't know, and I'm not going to declare that left guard is going to be a strong position, because I think at best it's going to be slightly above average. Defensive backs and a player on third and fourth down, respectively, will be addressed. And again, I've got some inside news for you. So hang tight. Medicare Misty, over 40 states she's regulated in, so she can work with you, no charge for her services, and she'll get you all taken care of when it comes to Medicare.
19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
Tennessee's defensive backs are going to be very, very good by October. Because I think they have the same reason. I think they have to play some Chattanoogas, get some chemistry together. But I like the talent back there. Now, when you look at the end of the year, Caleb, the yards per completion or whatever other stat you want to use may not have Tennessee at the very top of the SEC. However, I think they'll be at least top half. And I think that they will create turnovers in the secondary. I think they've got some ball hawks back there that will be able to flip the field via interceptions. I just think they have better athletes. But I can't tell you they'll be good from the get because they haven't played together in a game situation.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. And Josh Heupel's been hinting at this, and Josh Heupel tries to say nothing, but he's been hinting at the secondary being much better all off season. Now, grain of salt, maybe he was hinting at that with the idea of Jordan Thomas being a starter. I don't know, but I do think that Tennessee their secondary is going to be much better. I do think they're going to give a lot of yards and points, but yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be like 2022, although their secondary was bad in 2022 if you take the South Carolina game into account. But for the most part, it was garbage time. Game was over. They played soft bear coverage and tried to make teams work the clock and let them gain a lot of yards and score a lot of points down the stretch with the game in hand.
Okay. This should be fun.
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
All right. You can't say boo and you can't say any red shirts. But which freshman, because I'm going to give you one that's going to play this year and is going to potentially be a star at Tennessee. Which of the freshmen do you like other than boo and not red shirts?
Well, mine is Peyton Lewis.
Right.
Because I've been always high on Peyton Lewis. The other one has been Mike Matthews.
Right.
And
I'm going to give you one. You ready?
Let's hear it, Dave.
Edwin Spillman.
The linebacker.
Continues to show up. And I believe, based off the last time we've all talked, Tennessee has a gem in Edwin Spillman. I don't know if it's going to show up this year, but he's done enough to put himself in the coaches' minds for the future. And I'm talking about in their minds for maybe some mop-up duty early. I don't think you can step in the SEC 9 times out of 10 and play right away. But this guy's going to be a big factor for the Vols moving forward.
It's a bold statement, Dave. Because
why do you not like Edwin Spillman?
Because Tennessee has not had success with Lipscomb Academy kids in the past.
Okay.
And I think Caleb Beasley doesn't like me for saying this too in previous years. But if I'm not mistaken, didn't Wesley Walker go to Lipscomb Academy? I believe he did. And I think a few others went to Lipscomb Academy that have not worked out in the past. It's one of the 2 schools I have named. The other one being Innsworth. Lipscomb's the private school, Innsworth the public school. But it's one of the 2 national schools I named that tend to, shall we say, produce bust.
Yeah, you could say bust. I mean, Lipscomb Academy, they play a lot of private school teams, and you can either be really good or really bad. So it's kind of like college football. How many times are you really challenged an elite team? 6, maybe 5?
Yes.
I mean, 4 of the games you should just win. That's kind of how Tennessee's private school sector works out. So it's tough to evaluate those kids. But yeah, I'm saying Edwin Spillman. I think that he is going to. Now, do we want to say? I'm going to say Tennessee's best true freshman, not boo, will eventually be Mike Matthews, Peyton Lewis, Edwin Spillman. Please go ahead and vote on our YouTube page. We greatly appreciate that. Take 1 second for me and hit that like button. That like button. And if you haven't subscribed to this point, please do so. Caleb, you were going to say?
I'm just going to say it. Best player to ever come out of Spillman or Lipscomb Academy was Austin Rogers.
Austin Rogers is a good player.
Yeah, but if he's the best player to come out of your high school,
he's the best player. Okay, then I'll go out on a limb. Then Edwin Spillman will be better than Rogers, and I'll bet you a steak dinner on that.
You'll bet me a steak dinner that Edwin Spillman is better than Austin Rogers.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't take that bet, would you? Because Rogers.
Oh, no. Okay. I would take that bet. Okay. I would absolutely take that bet. I have a lot of lack of faith in Academy kids. So,
All right. The bet is on.
And by the way, the second best is Zach Rogers.
Okay. We'll see how they do. I'm afraid of some private school kids too in Tennessee because the level of competition is not fantastic. Tennessee's best true freshman, not boo, will eventually be Mike Matthews, Peyton Lewis, Edwin Spillman. It's on our YouTube page. Please vote right now. And I'm happy to say that Spillman, I think some people believe me, Spillman's making a push. It wouldn't surprise me based off who I've talked to. And what's this, 2024? If in 2026, they're both all SEC players.
Okay.
Are you going to go that far with Peyton Lewis? Because I'm not. I think there are too many great running backs in the SEC.
I don't think Josh Heupel will let any of his running backs be all SEC unless it's unless it's an all-purpose back who gets a lot of yards in the passing game. But I just don't think he gives Due enough touches to be all SEC. Although Jalen Wright made a push last year with his limited touches. I mean, I kind of think we've underrated just how good of running back Jalen Wright was last year. But yeah, I think that I'm with you.
Well, I happen to think that maybe you're underrated.
Oh, wait.
Yes, Dylan.
And also,
we can get that later. Go ahead.
Pseudo Sham brings up a great point. What about Ross? Jordan Ross, too, is another one that I'm like, if James Pierce were not on this team, I might be talking about Jordan Ross as an All-American as a freshman. Not a freshman All-American, an All-American as a freshman.
I'm surprised you didn't go Jordan Ross. I thought you would go in that direction, but I was a bit taken aback. The vote is there on our YouTube channel. We want you to take part because
that's hot.
And we get to one of my favorite parts of the program, and now it's even better because we've got like clips to play. What the H?
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Kind of a strange exchange between reporters and Josh Heupel on Monday. And it had to do with Cam Sutton. And I want to play this for you. And we're going to pull it up. We're going to play the exchange for you. And I just want to know what you think of this. So, Caleb, you're the tech guy. Go ahead and pull this up as we take a look and try to read between the lines in what Josh Heupel is saying here.
And let me add some context real quick before I play this, because unfortunately I tried every single online video and couldn't find one that had the reporter asking the question mic'd up, because the question adds the context to Josh Heupel saying what he's saying. But Heupel was asked about running backs and talked about Peyton Lewis, Cam Seldon, and said, quote, both those guys are full go right now. A reporter then asked, so Cam is cleared? Is that what we're hearing? And then this is how the exchange ends up. You ready?
Yes.
Yeah, he's been practicing with us.
Okay, that's the first part. The next part, and I'm just going to say, I have to tell you guys this because you can't hear it. Heupel said he's been practicing with us. The reporter follows up with the question, for contact? Question mark. So saying, has Cam been cleared for contact? This is Heupel's response.
The direct questions come from Adam, not from you.
Adam, will you ask that question, please?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thank you. We will see you Thursday.
Have a great day, everybody.
All right. So wrap that up because it was kind of hard to hear, but I've heard it. So give me that paraphrase synopsis.
So Heupel was asked again. So again, he said Cam's been practicing with us. The reporter goes for contact ? Heupel goes, the direct question comes from Adam, not you. This is a reference to Adam Sparks of Knox News, and I think he was kind of making a joke.
Sure.
And then the reporter was like, Adam, will you ask that question, please? And Heupel goes, yes, sir. And then wraps up the press conference in a weird walk away. So we don't get the answer, was it for contact? Which means it wasn't for contact.
Okay.
Cam Seldon is not practicing with contact.
Well, and I can tell you for a fact that he's not. So, and he hasn't been. And we talk about vision from time to time. I can tell you that there are people in Tennessee's program that don't know his vision because he hasn't practiced that much. So while we can question a play or two that we see in a game, it's as much of an X factor as maybe Dylan Sampson's pass blocking. But this tells me that Seldon, who we've said the whole time, this confirms to me he's not going to be ready until midseason, which we have said the whole time. He suffered that shoulder injury in spring practice. So is this disconcerting that he's not going to be out there and ready to go till, I would say, probably October?
I think it's possible he's not going to be ready to go fully all year because, let's be honest, we saw this with Jalen Wright 2 years ago. If you have a slow start to the season and then the offense is already in rhythm with another running back, it's really hard to work you back into the rotation. And let's also call it what it is. Cam Seldon ain't as good as Jalen Wright. You guys can debate me on that all day. I can verifiably say right now, I will go out on a limb and say Cam Seldon will never come close to Jalen Wright talent-wise.
Well, but we've just said that we think Jalen Wright's one of the most underrated tailbacks Tennessee's, or underrated tailbacks players that Tennessee's had recently. I don't think he'll ever be as good as Jalen Wright. They have a similar size speed ratio, not necessarily vision. I don't think he has quite the hips Jalen Wright had, but Jalen Wright did turn himself into a very good tailback. So with Cam Seldon, you have to turn, I guess, your attention to Deshaun Bishop. And we've discussed this before. But Deshaun Bishop, whether you like it or not, might be your second string tailback for the foreseeable future. And by that, I mean the first month of the season. Is that good or bad? I tell you, I don't hate it. Brought to you by Don Self, State Farm. Customer service still matters. For over 40 years, they built their business on taking care of their customers. Everybody wants to save money in this economy. But what happens when you have to provide, when you have to get that claim? Then do you get paid? Well, that's State Farm. You can trust them. 423-396-2126 or go to donself.net, donself.net. I don't have a problem if I'm Josh Heupel with Seldon not being 100% until October, which he didn't say, but that's what we've been told, and that's what we believe to be the case. And the reason I say that is because you have two smaller backs. You could have one banged up by that point. I don't think Tennessee, Caleb, I don't want to in any shape, form, or fashion mislead you. I don't think Tennessee is going to have an elite back unless Peyton Lewis turns out to be all that he's supposed to be. But I think Dylan Sampson could end up being an all-SEC type of tailback. And I got the sense that Josh Heupel, even though I think wanted to fib a little bit about Cam Seldon, I don't think he's worried about the tailback position. Did you read that, or am I reading too much in between the lines?
I kind of got the idea that he was a little worried about it.
And
honestly.
maybe he should be.
And I think they are going to go to Bishop, and I see a lot of people saying that Deshaun Bishop has earned the right to play. Guys, this whole earning the right to play thing is Like, what do we mean by that? Because he's good enough, or just because he does what he's supposed to in practice? Because I'm going to tell you who that reminds me of, David. I'm going to throw a name out, and you covered this person. Are you ready?
Yes.
Torrin Poole. When the Derek Dooley years, everybody's like, oh, he's earned the right to play. He's earned the right to be a starting back. And everybody was like, it was unfair that he was held behind Montario Hardesty and Bryce Brown. And I'm sorry, he wasn't as good as Hardesty or Brown. He wasn't.
Earning the right to play, to me, means that guy is not talented. That guy has earned the right to get in there when the game's out of hand in the second half or the fourth quarter. You've earned a right to get on the field, whereas maybe you're actually the third stringer, but the second stringer played some in the first half because he had a sub in for Squirrel White for a second or something. But you've earned the right to play, Mr. Third Stringer, because you worked so hard that you can play Chattanooga in the second half.
You have a 5-star heart.
Right. To me, that's what the term earn the right to play. Earn the right to play and starter in college football, or earn the right to play and be on the 2 deep. No, those don't go together. This is big time football. Nobody says, I mean, these guys are getting paid too. So if your feelings are hurt, tough bleep. Okay. So nobody in the NFL says, boy, that guy has worked really hard. He deserves a few snaps on Sunday in the NFC Championship game. Nobody
does that. Nobody does that.
So the earn the right to play carries no argument. Now, that being said, Caleb and I differ. I think Dylan Sampson can be special, and I don't think pass pro is going to be an issue. But if pass pro is an issue, then Caleb, he hasn't earned the right to play.
Well, and we're going to get to Sampson in a little while because there's some other stuff on that too. Yes, I agree, but okay, I'm still on the mindset of, and this is what I told you guys from the start, and it looks more true than ever because a lot of people are coming at me saying that, oh, you thought Peyton Lewis was going to be the starter. Yeah, I did, but I caveated that. I thought Peyton Lewis was going to be the starter because I thought Tennessee was in serious trouble if Peyton Lewis was not the starter. So I still maintain that I think they're going to turn to Peyton Lewis early. Maybe it will be after September. Maybe it'll be a Jamal Lewis situation where they got to let him, he needs like a month to pick a pass pro in the offense and they call it a day. But I don't think Tennessee can afford to not turn to Peyton Lewis before, the end of the third of the season.
I got the feeling, since you were talking about Peyton Lewis a lot, that you thought of it as a need to happen almost as much of a will happen. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It was a need to happen as much as anything.
And I would tend to agree with that. Listen, if Peyton Lewis is a sophomore and he's 100%, he didn't have off-season injuries and he knows pass pro and he's good to go, that's a more talented back maybe than Dylan Sampson. I haven't seen enough. But with Peyton Lewis, the only thing that concerns me about Cam Seldon, I don't think Peyton Lewis is going to be a monster factor. But I think that the thing that concerns me with Cam Seldon is he going to be chemistry-wise in the flow if he makes his debut in October? Because, again, the running back in Tennessee's offense this year, the number one priority, Caleb, is not to gain a bunch of yards. It's to not get Nico hurt.
Yeah.
That's listen, would you take who's the best back ever at Tennessee?
Oh, in Tennessee? Mind? I mean, talent-wise, it's probably Jamal Lewis, isn't it? It's got to be talent-wise.
Would you take Jamal Lewis with D pass pro or Travis Stevens with A+ pass pro?
Oh, Travis Stevens with A+ pass pro, but I would have taken Travis Stevens with A+ pass pro over Jamal Lewis with D pass pro back in the 2001.
Okay, work with me then. Work with me because I'm going to go a little further down the line. Cedric Houston.
Still, Cedric Houston. Because Dave, you're actually with me on this. Now, I know Jamal Lewis can be an exception, but I've always been of the mindset that if the running back meets a base level of talent, the offensive line makes the running back most of the time, right?
Well, I completely agree with that. The only person who disagrees with this is who?
Derek Dooley, who openly, who, by the way, in his example was a Damian Tomlinson. He's like, he's made yards no matter who you're in behind. I'm like, yeah, you don't have LT on your team, Derek.
That was the hardest time in my life, probably in a press conference type setting. I still remember, and not saying,
You suck.
I mean, that to me, as a guy that's born and bred in Southern football, and the lines are the most important for him. And he did say that. He said, well, a lot of people say the offensive line makes running back. Really, it's the running back that makes the offensive line.
I will never forget
your
that.
numbers in 1 and 5. Caleb,
by the way, proof of that, Jamal Lewis, who we just brought up, who was a generational talent at tailback, right? Incredible talent. Rushes for 2,000 yards in Baltimore when they had a good line. Goes to Cleveland. Dave, what did he do in Cleveland? Absolutely nothing, because Cleveland opened the checkbook for him. That doesn't mean Jamal Lewis wasn't talented. It means that you're still nothing without a line most of the time as a running back. Yes.
Absolutely right.
And by the way, to your question,
yes,
with this running back group, yes, I just wanted to throw this one in. Yes, it's pick up pass pro. You don't have to gain a lot of yards though, but you have to be able to gain 4 to 5 yards when you pick up when you take the handoff, and that could be a problem for Seldon if you have no vision. Like you have to be able to hit that first hole in this system.
Fair enough. Our Tuesdays are brought to you by Joe Neubert Collision Center. And is it okay to fib a little bit with the media? Because Josh Heupel did that last year with Cooper May. So I want to ask you that. And also Dylan Sampson's pass protection. Got some insight on that, predicting the Vols 2024 schedule. 15 seconds brought to you by Neubert Collision Center.
Fifth year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Do you like Josh Heupel's gamesmanship? Because I believe that he openly fibbed last year about Cooper Mays, and I think he's fibbing about Cam Seldon. Is this just gamesmanship, or do you dislike the line? Because that's what it is.
I dislike the lying. I absolutely despise the lying, and I hate it with a burning passion. And it actually ingredes me, because it's like, this stuff is stupid. Oh, you're really gonna you got to throw Chattanooga off their game, guys. You know they're the number 9 ranked team in FCS this year. They could be dangerous. Okay, really. You're going to lie to us about Cam Seldon and his health? Like, who cares? This is frustrating to me.
So I'm going to put on our new YouTube poll. Fibbing, I'll call it fibbing. How about that? Fibbing about injuries is just a part of the game or still lying. We would love your votes on that. And as far as the Cameron Seldon, I expect Cameron Seldon to impact this season. 50% say that. Play midseason. 36% say that. Sit this year, 13%. So bringing it all back to Cam Seldon, I give you those 3 choices. Where would you go?
So Cam Seldon, and who else? Say all that again.
I expect Cameron Seldon to impact, all caps, this season, play this season, sit this year.
Sit. I'm all in on sit this year. So it's yeah.
I think he plays. And I think he ends up having a decent November. I think he has a couple of flash runs too in garbage time where you're going to be like, oh, I'm excited about that guy, because he did it in spring camp against a better defense than he'll play at times during the season. Have you joined Hooker's Corner yet? Because we told you yesterday who Tennessee's next commitment would be. It's coming up this week, and it's on Hooker's Corner. And the great part about you get more than just increased recruiting information. You also get an opportunity to win our weekly prizes, which are T-shirts or that Celebrate 98 book, which you can order on offthehooksports.com. And we will give away our monthly prize, which is the helmet, which is right over my shoulder. That's a Joe Milton autographed mini helmet, orange with the white stripe. Now, none of that would be possible. None of this would be possible without our great friends at Sports Treasures. Sports Treasures, Knoxville's oldest card shop, and they are absolutely tremendous, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia, daily updates. Go to Sports Treasures TN, Sports Treasures TN on Facebook for those daily updates. Don't forget to tell them that Off the Hook Sports and Dave Hooker sent you. Also, if you would like, you can order a copy of Celebrate 98, The Untold Stories Behind Tennessee's 1998 National Championship game. And thanks to our friends at Rick Terry, you have an opportunity to win a Garmin watch. We'll tell you more about that. But first, I'm going to see if I can convince Caleb of something. It is today's tough question right now.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Talk a little pass pro. Talk a little Dylan Sampson. I'm going to share with you what I've learned in the past 24 hours since we spoke. And that is pass protection hasn't even been discussed with Dylan Sampson because it hasn't been an issue within Tennessee's football team. I also will tell you that Dylan Sampson knew all of pass pro when he came to Tennessee as a true freshman, which blew people away. They did not expect him to know his assignments. That was first practice out of the chute. I've officially crossed off my list of concerns, Dylan Sampson, pass protection. And I was with Caleb on this, but I'm willing to be flexible, pliable, change my mind. Unless I'm proven wrong in a game, I'm not concerned about Dylan Sampson protecting Nico. Caleb, am I being gullible or am I on to something?
You mean you haven't already been proven wrong in a game?
I have been, but okay, and I'm glad you addressed that. I have been proven wrong in a game, and I was told also that there were times last year where they weren't 100% comfortable in pass pro, but I've gotten conflicting reports on that. Someone else within the program told me, no, that wasn't the case. But what you say, there were issues in the Citrus Bowl, right?
Yeah, that's an understatement.
That was the glaringly obvious one. My argument is this. I think everybody makes mistakes, and they're glaring mistakes when everybody's staring at Nico and you have a new running back in there because the other guys want to go pro, understandably. I think those are just occasional mistakes. I don't think it's a trend, and I think Dylan Sampson is going to be fine.
I'm sorry, I watched those. No, I watched those mistakes. Those aren't occasional mistakes. Those were so blatantly bad. It's like, it reminds me of, and we all, a few years ago, this was back in 2022 when Joe Milton started his first game, and he missed just some of the easiest touchdown passes possible against Bowling Green. People came back to us the next year, and they're like, oh, you know, what you don't really see is sometimes a receiver missed on the route or things like that. And it's like, no, I saw what I saw. He had a guy open in the end zone, and he missed him multiple times, okay? I saw what I saw with Dylan Sampson. This wasn't, a blown assignment. This was, just whiffing on blocks. He knew his assignment half the time. He just couldn't land the block. So if what you're saying is true, and I have no reason to not believe you on this and your sources, then that just fuels my fire that either he's protecting himself in games, so he's not trying to pass pro, or he in some way panics under pressure in the games because of the in-game, because of the light shining on him, a la Nathan Peterman at quarterback when he played for Tennessee. But you are not going to convince me until I see it regularly that he can pass protect regularly. And I'm not going to change my mind with Chattanooga, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not. You're not. I don't care what he does against Chattanooga. I don't care. You guys can't come back at me and be like, oh, I told you he was going to be good at pass pro this year. He blocked FCS guys really, really well. I don't care about that whatsoever.
What about NC State? That's a top 25 team.
Yes. yes, if he pass pros well against NC State, I'll start to revisit my discussions. Now, still hesitant because I think Iowa, whatever we think about NC State and Iowa, NC State's probably better, but I think Iowa does have a better defense. It is more physical. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I think they're probably slightly. Yeah, I think they're more physical. But man, they're slow, and I don't think they didn't do anything complicated. So, to miss a pass protection bust as a running back, and that was kind of weird. Work trucks, all about trucks that are actually available, trucks that help you maximize your profits by having the right work vehicle. Now, time is money. So, Caleb, I'm going to ask you: would you put your money on Dylan Sampson being a good pass protector at the end of the season? Well, hold on. The perfect work vehicle by Work Trucks doesn't break down. That's all the space to carry what you need, including pass protectors. That's what Work Trucks is intent on offering, while other dealerships just can't do it. Contracting is all about time. Work Trucks saves you time with less back and forth trips and trucks that pass the highest standard to be put to work. Can Dylan Sampson be at the highest standard to pass protection? Process is quick and easy when choosing a vehicle for Work Trucks, cargo vans, utility body trucks with an app-hide work bodies installed, pickups of all sizes, and anything special like cranes or dump trucks. Work Trucks supplies vehicles to people just like you and get you back on the road tomorrow. No dealership runaround. If you're a contractor, you got to know Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com, Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com, downtown Birmingham. And how about the entire inventory online? Also, Clinton Highway in Knoxville. The perfect truck. They'll outfit it, make sure it fits your needs to a T. Proud supporters of the Vols. Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com. Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com. Caleb, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. What percentage of a chance do you think, 2 questions, do you think Dylan Sampson is an adequate pass protector this fall?
30%.
Okay. So I imagine you're going to be much lower at perfect. I'm not even going to answer my second question. Caleb, you are being way too hard on that young man. He made a couple of mistakes. My goodness.
They were okay. You guys keep talking about like sometimes the mistakes look glaring. Guys, again, I explained to Dave what gaslighting was last week. I'm going to use the word again. This is gaslighting. We are all being gaslit, okay? We all saw with our eyes these missed assignments that were insanely bad misses, okay? There was this, what you didn't know was there was this protection scheme on this side and this player was coming from there and you just didn't see it. No, that's not what was happening. I'm sorry.
Nobody talks like that.
What I'm saying is, no, that's not what happened. It was blatantly obvious and a bad miss. I've watched enough football. I don't need coaches telling me what I did and what I saw and didn't see, okay? And what I saw was Dylan Sampson absolutely whiffing on easy pass pro assignments, okay? So either, again, he's melting down in the game or he's protecting himself and doesn't really care for contact because he's thinking about his NFL future, assuming what you said, and again, I do believe it, what you said is true, that he knew pass pro from day one when he walked on campus. So, again, I have to say this. I don't believe it, and I'll believe it when I see it. And Chattanooga, I'm throwing it out the window. I don't care what he does against Chattanooga.
I don't think anybody cares what anybody does against
NC State. NC State, I might reevaluate.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to be hesitant because there's some debates just about how physical NC State is. Kent State, I'm like throwing that even further out the window, okay? And then, so I'm not going to change my opinion on this until I see the Oklahoma game.
I don't think you have to. Tuesday's brought to you by Neubert Collision Center, coming up this day in Tennessee sports history, and we're going to predict every game on the Vols 2024 schedule. Stay tuned. 2 minutes with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker, Off the Hook Sports.
5th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that. If we wouldn't put our family in it, we're not going to put their family in it. If you're going to say that you're doing the best work in Knoxville, now saying it's one thing, producing it and providing it's another.
The largest family-owned collision center in Knoxville is Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Hi, I'm Rick Terry, and we at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs pride ourselves in the highest quality craftsmanship from a family-owned business here in Knoxville for over 35 years. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we also take pride in being an affordable option for all your game day accessories, especially those fire opals. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we want to be your jeweler every day and especially on game day. Go Vols!
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
When the lights turn on and the game begins, you need a team you can rely on. Ray Varner Ford and Clinton's strong lineup of vehicles is crafted with the same dedication and hard work that drives our community. Experience quality and value in this pre-owned 2023 Ford Expedition Limited 4x4 $67,950, 2017 Ford F-150 Raptor SVT $41,950, 2023 Ford Escape ST Line $28,940. Local you trust, pre-owned vehicles you can afford. Ray Varner Ford, built for the game.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, wizard.
The Dave Hooker Show,
Who?
a presentation of Off the Hook Sports,
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
I don't know where you're holding your week 0 party. Are you having a week 0 party, Caleb?
No, I have a 2-month-old, so week 0 party is going to be one. What Florida State fan or Georgia Tech fan is traveling to Dublin for this game?
I don't know. I'd rather go to Dublin and just go to Dublin. I'd rather go to a football game and it just be down the road. I don't know that I need to.
You.
Yes.
That's my whole point of NFL games, like overseas. I know friends who are fans of the teams that fly to London for their favorite team's NFL game. I'm like, if I'm going to London, I want to visit London. I don't want to go to a football game.
Yeah.
And by the way, because people are on the message board are like, Caleb, I trust coaches. I believe coaches. When the coaches of Georgia Tech and Florida State both this week say it's an exciting opportunity for us to go to Ireland, it's going to be great for our fans and our program. If you honestly believe coaches at that point, you're kidding yourself, because neither one of these coaches are happy about going to Ireland for a game.
You don't think so? For the recruiting aspect?
Do you think that? How's that going to recruit? Are you going to recruit some Irish talent? Hey, ladies.
No, because the
come to Florida State?
Whoever did it, the committee, it's essentially a bowl committee in Dublin, right? They put together the game, but I'm sure that it was mandated that you played on week 0, and week 0 would get you more recruiting exposure. I understand the reasoning behind it. I just don't like it.
I don't think they're that excited of having to go to Dublin and because already the work-life balance of coaches is miserable. Having to change time zones 6 hours. It's like when coaches have to go play a game at Hawaii from the East Coast.
I tell you what, when you're ready for that game day party, whether it's week 1, nothing would go better than that game day party than Asia Cafe, one of Hook's hangouts. Treat yourself to authentic Asian cuisine, handcrafted from guarded family recipes. 5 locations to choose from. They're right down below. asiacafe.org, asiacafe.org. And you can also order that fantastic Cocoa Brazilian 6-to-1 energy booster premix instant white coffee. It's unbelievable. It's been around since 1909. The Lim Dynasty and Company, tradition carried on by Philip Lim. Again, check it out. It's all right there. The coffee's unbelievable. It makes you feel fantastic the rest of the day. asiacafe.org, asiacafe.org. And these are handcrafted, guarded family recipes at the in particular restaurant. So check them out. This day in Tennessee football history is brought to you by Asia Cafe. Caleb, we go back in time. What do we got, sir?
It's another happy birthday. It's a happy 51st birthday, Dave, to one of your favorite people, Todd Helton. Turned 51 today.
Yes. Happy birthday, Todd Helton.
And is obviously just recently has been inducted into the MLB Hall of Fame. Well-deserved. And honestly, a very selfless team player because, again, baseball was his ticket. That was his focus. But willingly stayed behind on the football team, from my understanding, just to really help bring along Peyton Manning and Brandon Stewart as a loyal guy.
There was that, and he really wanted to play, and there was family pressure not to play because they knew that baseball was his future. I mean, Todd Helton kind of gets overlooked as one of the most selfless players in Tennessee football history. So that's a good one. And I knew a ton of people who actually went up to Cooperstown to see him be inducted. So that was really neat as well. So this day in Tennessee history, Tennessee sports history, Todd Helton was born 51 days ago. All right.
51 years ago. 51 years. He's not
51 years ago. And
my son is older than 51 days. So
just barely. All right. We're going to predict each Tennessee game for the 2024 season, one by one. I don't know where Caleb's going on this thing, but I can go ahead and tell you that I'm usually right. And Caleb usually, that's crazy. All right. Do we want to pull up the schedule on screen, or do we want to just go ahead and tackle this via verbiage?
I say we go via verbiage. We'll just go down the list, and we'll just make our predictions for each team and see how they go.
Okay, so let's go ahead and go. What do we got? Predicting every game on the Vols schedule. They open with Chattanooga. I am going to go ahead and say that Tennessee wins that game. Would you like a score prediction?
Well, I'll give you mine, and you tell me what you think. But I mean, some of the message board are telling me that Chattanooga is very dangerous, guys. They're a very dangerous FCS team. So obviously, I'm kidding. I couldn't even say it with a straight face. Tennessee's winning 62-24. They're going to drop 60 in the opener.
I was going to say 51-10. I mean, it's like going to bingo. I mean, it could be any number of scores. It's going to be a dominant one-sided victory. NC State, may I go first?
Sure.
I think Tennessee hammers NC State. I think it's about 42-13. I think Tennessee, that's because you've got Chattanooga the first week. That's where you unveil some new stuff. Not all, because it's a non-conference game. But I just hope that Josh Heupel doesn't get dunked in Mayo with the Duke's Mayo Classic. But I think Tennessee hammers NC State. You?
I think they win, but it's ugly. I think they actually win 34-31, and here's why. We think there's a lot of the problems I'm talking about with Tennessee this year, I think will actually be resolved by October. I think this is the game it gets resolved. A lot of the chemistry issues you talk about, Dave, this is the game where it all comes together. But this is the game where the growing pains happen and they overcome them. So they're going to win. I got 34-31, so I have it really close and scary. But I think because there's going to be a lot of sloppy play as the defensive backs still try to gel, whoever the left guard is tries to gel. Talked about the issues with pass pros. They're still trying to find a running back. I think this is the game where they figure all of that out. But because they're in the process
the Pitt game in 2022.
Yeah, it's the Pitt game of 2022. Exactly. So I got 34-31 Tennessee. But guys, don't read into that much when they struggle with NC State in this game, because I think they'll struggle because they're just figuring out some chemistry issues.
Kent State, I think we can both agree is going to be a one-sided affair.
I got 63-0.
63-0.
Kent State's the worst team they're playing this year, by far.
Okay.
They're the one with the coach who said, "I don't like to scheme things. I'm not into that type of stuff, scheming things and X's and O's."
I'm gonna do prices right. I'm gonna go 64-0. So anything above, and I win. Brought to you by Apex Apparel Group Design. 15% off your first order. Call Tyler at 865-919-3001. 865-919-3001. Apex Apparel, not just clothes, but they can do that. Check out this awesome embroidered off the Hook Sports shirt that I have. They do that design, brand, market your way, unique products, promote your business with unparalleled customer service. So we get to Oklahoma. Now, this is a flex game, and we're going to get used to this as the season goes on. So it could be an afternoon game, could be an evening game. I think it benefits Tennessee the earlier it is, but I've got Tennessee winning this game. I don't think Oklahoma is as good as their record indicated last year, and I think this is a special game for Josh Heupel. And if there are any tricks that he's going to pull out, it's going to be against Oklahoma.
All right. So you guys, many of y'all think that I was anti-Tennessee because I said they're going to struggle with NC State. They are. The chemistry is going to have to work out. It gets worked out with Oklahoma. Josh Heupel's going to they're going to be loose. They're going to be 3-0 going to Oklahoma. Josh Heupel's excited. He wants to humiliate him. He's going to pull out everything. I think Oklahoma's a bit overrated as a program. You ready for this, Dave? Ready for my crazy one?
Ready.
Tennessee wins 52-31. They blow them out of the water on their home field, light them up, embarrass them, and this is the game. Oklahoma is the game. Circle it. After Oklahoma, the following Monday, the entire college football world will be talking about Tennessee, Josh Heupel's offense, and Nico Iamaleava is the Heisman frontrunner.
Okay. You don't win a Heisman in September, though. I'm going to go Tennessee wins that game. I still think Brent Venables is a good defensive coach, not a good head coach. So I'm going to say he holds Tennessee to about 45, but the Vols win with a big play on defense or two. Tennessee wins. No, I think I got 45-20 is where I am in that game. So I hope you're taking these down because I may not remember. Arkansas is going to be in Fayetteville. This could be the point in the season where Sam Pittman's playing for his job. If I was a coach, I'd hate to be in games like that because you don't know how players are going to be motivated. Are the opposing players going to be flat because they don't like their coach? Are they going to be up because they love their coach and they want to save his job? But I think Tennessee will win this game fairly easily. But with Florida on the horizon, I could certainly see, and of course the Oklahoma game the week before, I could see the Vols playing flat on the road. So I'll say the 24-13 in that regard.
That is such you covered Tennessee football in the early 2000s, late 90s score because that's not how Josh Heupel wins his games, Dave. Tennessee, I agree they're going to be flat a little bit offensively but they're coming off a bye, and Tennessee's amazing off a bye. But I think they'll be a little flat because, you know, this game going into Fayetteville, that crowd can get a little raucous at times. And so I think Tennessee will be held to 41 points, but they'll win 41-14. I think it'll look a lot like the 2022 LSU game.
Now, the next game, Tennessee's going to be sky high for. Brought to you by the Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOK for 10% off. Promo code HOOK for 10% off. Link right down below. Tennessee's going to hammer Florida. Hammer Florida. That's the game that slipped away last year. That's the game that Josh Heupel, you shouldn't carry grudges. Every game should be the same. Blah, blah, blah. No, Tennessee's going to hammer Florida.
So I think Tennessee is going to pull a Tennessee. No, I don't mean they're going to lose to Florida. They're going to beat Florida. They're going to beat Florida. And I got them winning 42-30. And here's why I got it like that. While I think Tennessee will massively outplay Florida, I think the psychological issues of playing Florida will creep in and cause like 4 mistakes in the game that shouldn't be caused. We saw this 2 years ago, Dave. Tennessee won 38-33. That Tennessee team was significantly better than that Florida team, and they still had to hold on to win at the end. So I think Tennessee will beat Florida, but I think it'll be like a sloppy game that keeps Florida from getting blown out because Tennessee just can't help themselves. They make mistakes against Florida.
Okay, Caleb, who's up next? Pretty good football team.
Yeah, this team from Tuscaloosa, rolls into town with top 5 talent with the coach that was in the college football playoff last year. And
I don't know why you sound a little like Johnny Majors there, but go ahead.
I think it's a repeat of 2022. I think this is Nico's second Heisman moment of the year. And Nico leads at Tennessee to a 48-41 win over Alabama. Another thrilling shootout where Tennessee just balls out.
Okay. I'm taking Alabama to win this game, but wait and see where I end up. I think Alabama wins this game because I don't think Tennessee is going to run the schedule undefeated, and I don't think they're that good. And Alabama still has quite a bit of talent. So before we get to the next week, just what are the top 4 teams that Tennessee fans should be most concerned about? Alabama, Georgia. Then it gets a little interesting.
Oklahoma and NC State. Oklahoma and NC State. Those are the top 4 teams on their schedule.
You would take NC State over Kentucky?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the new poll question before we get to the next opponent. And by the way, the last one, people agree with me, as they usually do, because I'm so beloved. But people, are you worried about Dylan Sampson's pass protection? Nope. All good. 77%. Yep. Scary. 22%. Sounds about right in my head. All right. So who's up next?
All right. So up next for Tennessee in this one is and by the way, the reason I think they're going to beat Alabama, I think Alabama has some questions at quarterback. I don't think Jalen, even though I think they're going to score 41, so I'm being a little facetious when I say that, but I think Jalen Milroe is going to have some struggles at times. So next is Kentucky. It's Kentucky. Tennessee's at home. They're going to be riding high off a win over Alabama. This will be, by the way, they're also coming off a bye to face Kentucky. They're winning 59-10. For the record, if you look at Tennessee's track record, not only Heupel's a lead off a bye, but Tim Banks is even better off a bye. Tim Banks is the one they held Texas A&M to 13 points. They held LSU to 13 points 2 years ago off a bye. Tennessee is going to win 59-10 against Kentucky coming off a bye.
I'm interested to see where you go next because I know you're high on this next team. Portions of the program brought to you by Ray Varner Ford.
When the game begins, you need a team you can rely on. Ray Varner Ford in Clinton's strong lineup of vehicles is crafted with the same dedication and hard work that drives our community. Step up your game in this 24 Ford Maverick Hybrid, 25,515, 23 Ford Escape all-wheel drive, 30,995, 24 Ford F-250 Crew Cab 4x4 STX, 59,757. Local you trust, performance you can afford. Ray Varner Ford, built for the game.
Mississippi State. We think they've got a good coach in place. This is a year of transition, however, because of the unfortunate passing of Mike Leach. Caleb, I know you like Mississippi State's higher, but do you think they're good in year one?
I think they're decent. First, what do you think that Tennessee does to Kentucky? You didn't give me your pick for Kentucky.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think Tennessee beats Kentucky because they always beat Kentucky.
Do you think it's even closer? Do you think it's like my level 59-10 style?
No, I love what I'm sorry. I totally agree with you. I love what you said about the bye week before. I agreed with everything you said, which is why I guess I didn't say anything.
All right. So Mississippi State, guys, get ready for the highest scoring game in Tennessee football history.
Uh-oh.
This is going to be fun. Now, Tennessee's going to win. Do you remember that 2010 Auburn-Arkansas game, Dave, with Cam Newton on one side and Bobby Petrino's offense on the other?
I do.
It's going to be like that. So get ready for this, guys. Basketball score. Dead serious. Not even kidding. 77-49. Tennessee wins. 77-49. Whatever the over-under is of that game, guys, take the over. Because Jeff Lebby will know Josh Heupel. He will have ideas. And he knows his tendencies, and he will throw out. And they played UMass the week before, so Mississippi State will be prepared to throw everything out at Tennessee that week. But Tennessee will match him and score a ton.
I don't think Tennessee's going to score 77. I think
here's why.
Well, but I think deep down as a coach, you don't want to crack the 70 mark. I mean, I know Josh Heupel likes numbers, and I've been told by people in the program that he likes setting records. He likes doing those things. Who doesn't? But he, in particular, likes numbers, likes ranking high and passing offense and so on and so on and so on. But I just feel like somewhere in the back of a coach's mind, they say to themselves, I don't want to hit 70. That seems obscene.
Here's the thing: he's going to have to keep his guys on the field because Mississippi State
semi-close.
They'll keep it semi-close. So Josh Heupel won't be able to put it away. And he's like, darn it, they keep scoring. So he's going to keep throwing his guys out there, and it's going to be a 77-49 win. Do you remember that? Remember that another one, Alabama, Georgia Southern, 2011, when Alabama won the national title. Remember Nick Saban said, Georgia Southern, they ran through our A like S through a 10 horn.
Next up,
something like that.
I could see that. Next up, Georgia. That's in Athens. It's the number 1 team in the nation. Would certainly break with common sense to pick Tennessee. I do think Tennessee is going to play incredibly well. I think Tennessee loses this game, but it's actually a benefit because they won't have to play in the SEC championship game. And I hate saying that. It breaks my heart, Caleb, because you know I love the SEC championship game as an event and as a title. But I think it benefits Tennessee because they won't have to play in the SEC championship game. They'll have 2 losses. And then I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead. I think they close out the season and they play in the college football playoff. So even though I'm picking Tennessee to lose against Georgia in this game, I think they play much better, and I think it's actually a benefit. You?
So you and I are one and the same with Georgia. Now, funny enough, because I have Tennessee beating Alabama, theoretically, I should have Tennessee in the SEC title game in a rematch with Georgia, with just 1 loss, right? Since there's no divisions anymore.
Correct.
I'll get there in a minute, but I'm with you. It really hurt Tennessee 2 years ago when they were number 1 and they went to play Georgia, and they lost 27-13, Dave. But let's be honest, the college football world didn't see 27-13. They saw Tennessee's not on Georgia's level and not on that tier. I think they lose something like 30-23, but they lose in Athens. And they lose by a touchdown, and it's a game where they're in it late. So even though they don't win the game, I think the college football world looks at them and says, well, that's nothing to be ashamed of. They lost to Georgia and Athens by a touchdown. That doesn't mean they're not on like the level of the top tier of college football. So I'm with you. I think they lose by a touchdown. And then they beat UTEP 65-27 and Vanderbilt 45-3. That's how they close out the regular season. So I got 11-1. You got 10-2. Now I'm going to say this. I don't have Tennessee going to play Georgia in the SEC title because I don't know how the SEC is going to do their tiebreakers. But I think Tennessee's
who does? I don't think.
Yeah.
You know, do you remember the first time it was a 3-way tiebreaker? And I swear they just made stuff up.
They did. It was actually Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida in 2003. All 3 were 6-2. And the original one was the voter, like the SEC media. It would be a vote on by SEC media. Halfway through, they realized that's stupid, so we're just going to take the highest team in the BCS, which honestly did make sense. And Georgia got the nod. This time, I think Tennessee is going to have a tie with either. I think they're going to have a tie with either Ole Miss or LSU. And if it's Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss may get the nod at schedule strength. And if it's LSU, because LSU didn't play Georgia, I think they may put LSU in over Tennessee. So I think it'll go like that. But
okay, so we both have Tennessee going in the playoff.
Yes, but they're going to have to do a first-round game. They won't get a bye because they won't win the SEC title.
Okay, what seed do they go in? I'm taking this prediction stuff serious, man. I'm telling you what's going to happen in the season. So in Dave's season, they're 10-2 with 2 very respectable losses. They're making the college football playoff. What seed will they be in?
Well, if they're 10-2 like you do, you have them. I say I would have them in as like a 10 seed or a 9 seed, something like that. And maybe they'll wait. No, the committee would give them an 8 seed so they play a home game because they want them at Neyland Stadium. Yeah, no,
it's definitely 8. You can talk about Worth, and Wisconsin could go 11-1, or Cincinnati could go 12-0. That game's going to be in Neyland Stadium. You can talk about resume. You can do all that stuff, but there's no way that Tennessee's going to travel to a TCU or a Cincinnati or one. I don't know why I picked Wisconsin, but one of those opponents that have slipped into the playoffs. They're going to have that at Neyland Stadium for the overall good of the game. They're going to be an 8. I'm predicting an 8 seed. And because of that, they win at least one game. After that, all bets are off. I've got them finishing. That would be, if they won one game, they would finish in the top 8 at the end of the season. So I've got them finishing in at least the top 8. and going 11-2. And I'm not going to. I don't know who they would play next, so I have trouble predicting that.
Oh, yeah, I'm going all in, baby.
I know you are.
All right, so because I've been teasing this, so let's go. Dylan nailed it. And I don't know if you read my article, Dylan, but yes, here's what's going to happen. Tennessee, I have them 11-1, meaning they're going to be the highest ranked seed that didn't get a bye because the first round, the conference champions get the automatic byes. So they'll be the 5 seed. The 5 seed is going to play the group of 5, the lowest seed in the playoff, which will be the best group of 5 team. Dylan's right. That's going to be Memphis. Memphis is going to be the best group of 5 team this year. They are favored to be the highest ranked group of 5 team in college football this year. So Tennessee's going to host Memphis at Neyland Stadium this year in the first round and win 52-17. But yeah, that's that. And by the way, Dave, here's my question: would you rather play Georgia in the SEC title and win that to get a first round bye, or just play Memphis at home in the first round to get to the quarterfinals? I'd rather play Memphis at home in the first round.
As good as Memphis might be, they're just not going to have the overall depth of athleticism, correct?
Exactly, yes.
So I would rather, I think, honestly, you could make a strong argument as opposed to having a bye. I would rather play a home team against a group of 5 to keep myself in rhythm.
Exactly. And that's where I think, and you don't have to play the SEC title game, which would beat you up. And so I'd rather play Memphis. I think they beat Memphis. And can I keep going? Because I know where they're going the next 3 rounds, guys. I know the whole thing.
Lay it on me. Lay it on me.
I am Professor Trelawney in the Harry Potter universe. People thought she was a fraud, but look it up. She got every prediction right. Okay,
nobody knows what that means.
Oh, people know.
I have no idea who Trelawney
Tennessee's going to go play because automatic bids are in there, and it's stupid that they are for the buys. Utah is going to be get a bye because they will be the Big 12 champion this year. Because the SEC, ACC, Big 12, and Big 10 champions will get the buys. Utah is going to be the Big 12 champion. I think and they're going to be the lowest of the bye teams. Tennessee is going to be the highest of the non-bye teams. So Tennessee is going to play Utah in the first round. For pod system preferences, it'll be in the Fiesta Bowl. Tennessee's going to play Utah in the Fiesta Bowl. Kyle Whittingham will play a ball control system that forces Tennessee to slow it down, but they still win 31-21.
Wow, what a poll question after that prediction. And in terms of, and it's on our YouTube page, who are you most afraid of in this upcoming season? Concerned about, I should say. Tennessee's not a program that should be afraid of anybody anymore now that they don't have a bunch of doofuses running the show. But I think this number will surprise you. The poll, go ahead and vote on it because, of course, Georgia's number 1, but number 2, the team that concerns you the most, a little bit surprising. Also, coming up, the stat of the day, 5 bold predictions.
I'm not done with my predictions.
Yes. What? I thought you were done. You've got Tennessee winning the national championship.
No, that's just Tennessee winning. You forget how long the playoff is going this year, Dave. That's just them winning the quarterfinal.
Okay, so semifinal is who?
They're going to face Oregon in the semifinal. And Oregon is going to be the Big 10 champion. Maybe. There's 3 options, but I think Oregon is going to be the one to go furthest in the playoff. And I think Tennessee is going to beat Oregon 41-35. That game will be in the Cotton Bowl. And you ready who they face in the national title game in Atlanta?
Georgia.
Yes. Rematch with Georgia. In the discipline woes of Georgia, finally catch up. And Tennessee beats Georgia 38-35 and wins the national championship. And Nico Iamaleava wins the Heisman this year. Boom. Boom.
He's on. Kids, he's on record. I can't stop him.
Finish. They're going to finish with that 15-1.
Let me ask you this question on our YouTube poll question. I'm gonna go ahead and share it now since I got a little ahead of myself. I'm most concerned about Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, NC State. Who's number 1?
Well, Georgia's going to be number 1 on that.
Okay, Georgia. Don't look. Georgia's 47%. Who do you think's number 2?
I think NC State might be number 2.
No, but that's interesting. Oklahoma is number 2. I would strongly disagree with that. I think that's because it's a road game. People are voting in that direction. Now, who do you think's number 3?
I think Alabama is number 3 if I know how the message. So you think NC State's number 3 for them?
Our poll question, I think NC State is tougher than Alabama.
I think our fans know what they're talking about. NC State is the second game of the year. The chemistry won't be there, and it's a neutral site.
And it's a classic overlooked game, right?
I mean, is it though? Because Kent State's the week after.
Well, but I think, but anybody that has a state next to it or has a TEP next to it, those to me are look-over games.
Oh,
aren't they? I mean,
Florida State's not a look-over game.
You hate Florida State, so don't use that to defend.
By the way, someone's calling me out because I've been trashing some things on Tennessee all year, like with the left guard and Dylan Sampson pass pro. The reason I still have Tennessee winning it all is by the end of September, they're going to realize that Peyton Lewis is the better back, and they're going to start him. And I think they'll be able to cover for the left guard issue.
Nevertheless, guys, when we bring up concerns, it doesn't mean we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Caleb and I are about as high on Tennessee as anybody that I know. And
1998, you couldn't run a shotgun 3 wide receiver spread with T. Martin the way you might have wanted to. That doesn't mean you couldn't win a national title with them.
That is very true. Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. They want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry. How about the Fire Opals? I'm going to put that QR code right above there. And you can check out Rick Terry for the Fire Opals, a game day tradition. Very, very affordable as well. A great gift for your loved one. You can see over my shoulder, they've got the Power Tee pendant. They've also got the State of Tennessee pendant, and they've got the Power Tee cufflinks. Remind you that you can also be a part of Hooker's Corner. And what does that do? Well, then you have an opportunity to win a Garmin watch. Get ready for Rick's Great 8 Garmin Challenge, brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Design. Rick Terry Jewelry Design will provide a Garmin watch worth over $1,000 to be given away to a lucky listener when we reach 8,000 subscribers, and we're pushing 6,000 now. And it's all free. Just be a free member of Hooker's Corner and also subscribe to this channel, and bam, you are in the running to win a $1,000 Garmin watch. Now, if you want to win the monthly prizes, you do need to be a paid member of Hooker's Corner for increased interaction with me and Caleb Calhoun and more recruiting coverage as well. So, Caleb, if you can drop that link in the message board, I would appreciate that. Coming up, 5 bold predictions. How much more bold can they get, Caleb? You've just picked Tennessee to win a national title.
Yeah, this is for the – well, I picked Tennessee. I had bold predictions for Tennessee yesterday, and this is for the overall college football season. I got some crazy, funny, bold predictions for the college football season that I actually think are more realistic than many people want to admit.
Okay. All right. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. You give me 2 minutes, and we'll get to those predictions. Hang tight. Off the Hook Sports.
And the game begins, you need a team you can rely on. Ray Varner Ford and Clinton's strong lineup of vehicles is crafted with the same dedication and hard work that drives our community. Step up your game in this 24 Ford Maverick Hybrid, 25,515. 23 Ford Escape all-wheel drive, $30,995. 24 Ford F-250 Crew Cab 4x4 STX, $59,757. Local you trust, performance you can afford. Ray Varner Ford, built for the game.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Have you seen the latest TriStar Hats Co. product?
TriStar Hats Co.? What's that?
You know, those really cool hats, shirts, tumblers, and even license plates with 3 stars like the official Tennessee flag and stripes like the American flag. Pretty patriotic if you ask me.
Ah, gotcha. Seen those. Those are cool. Where can I get them?
Simple. TriStarHatsCo.com. And if you order now, there's 10% on any order $50 or more. Plus, use the promo code HOOKED.
With the promo code HOOKED, you get 10% off. That's hooked.
And don't forget free shipping with any order over $50. Stock up at TristarHatsCo.com. That's TristarHatsCo.com. There are plenty of wannabes out there, so make sure you go to TristarHatsCo.com for the best quality and customer service.
Will do, and I'll be sure to use the promo code HOOKED. That's hooked when I do to save an additional 10% off. TristarHatsCo.com.
TriStar Hats Co. is a trademark of TriStar Hats Co. LLC. Any use without express written consent is prohibited.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, wizard.
The Dave Hooker Show,
Who?
a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Take un momento, if you don't mind, and hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed to this point, you need to do so, because the show just keeps getting bigger and we've got some big announcements coming up. Tuesday is brought to you by our friends at Neubert Collision Center. When it comes to any collision issue that you might have for over 50 years, Neubert Collision Center has been East Tennessee's best choice for quality repair work and fantastic customer service. So, Caleb, I think I misspoke a little bit earlier. You have 5 bold predictions for the college football season, correct? Not the ball season.
Correct. College football season.
Right. For the college football season. So there we go. First, do we want to get to the stat of the day? And by the way, a guy that coming up, a guy that a lot of you wanted to be Tennessee's next head coach multiple times, is kind of a doofus. Sorry. I'll tell you why here in a second. And you're probably, well, no, you're not probably. You're very lucky you have who you have instead of the doofus in that just reference. Okay. So do we want to do the stat of the day?
Yep. And it's an interesting one. You'll kind of like this.
Stat of the day is now.
Today's August the 20th. That's 8/20. I'm going to there's a number 8 that's relevant to a person who wore number 20 at Tennessee. And the person who wore number 20, Dave, is Derek Tinsley. And he had, sorry, what were we going to say?
I thought you were going to go Travis Henry, but go ahead.
No, it's kind of intriguing. Derek Tinsley had 8 career rushing touchdowns at Tennessee. Involved in those 8 was one of the most important rushing touchdowns and one of the most impressive wins Tennessee ever had, the reverse handoff on 4th and 1 to beat Miami 10-6. And the ugliest, prettiest win Tennessee has ever enjoyed as a football program.
Yeah, if you want to look back over Philip Fulmer's career and you want to say that he won mostly with talent, you'd be correct, but not that day. That was a day that he outcoached his opponent. And that was also the I'm a Soldier game. Do you remember that?
The Kellen Winslow I'm a effing Soldier game. Yep. Yeah, and it was specifically
because I was loading audio back at the hotel room and I look up and I'm like, why is he getting so much play? Because I had the sound turned down. And I'm like, why is Kellen? So finally I turned it up and I was like, oh, wow. That ended up being, that almost overshadowed Tennessee's win. It was a monstrous win. The stat of the day brought to you by Quality Tire Pro. The Eberle family has been serving Chattanooga's community since 1957. All major brands of tires, full service automotive, brakes, alignments, oil changes, and more. That's where I go. It's downtown Chattanooga on Cherokee, or you can go to qualitytirepros.com. Just tell Bo Off the Hook Sports said hello. Hello, Bo. And it's qualitytirepros.com. Yeah, and just things never really got better for Kellen Winslow.
Never really did. And by the way, that was about Jason Allen, because Kellen Winslow, let's be honest, in that game, I think he was shocked at how physical of a player Jason Allen was against him.
Yes, and I also think that they were surprised. I think they had the Tennessee mentality. Tennessee's had a mentality at times that they're just far more talented, and this comes up a lot against Kentucky and Vanderbilt over the years, and they can just show up and win. I think there was a little bit of that early, that Miami thought they could just show up and win and turn it on. And if you remember, this would have changed the whole facade of that game and the outcome, I believe. But do you remember them throwing a Hail Mary at the end of the first half?
Yes, where Kellen Winslow had everybody beat.
Okay, right. So they throw a Hail Mary, and usually you line up everybody on one side. So they had 3 receivers lined up, and then Kellen Winslow, the tight end, on the other side, and he was almost able to come over a Tennessee defender and catch it at the goal line and nearly pulled it in. And had he done that going into halftime, I don't believe there's any way, because of the emotional swing, that Tennessee comes out and wins that game.
No, not at all. And as a matter of fact, we have we would have something to look back on for that, because you also covered that same year Tennessee's last win over Florida in the Swamp. The ugliest first half of football I had ever seen. Tennessee's trailing Florida 3-0. Casey Clausen throws a prayer at the end of the half that's tipped and caught by James Banks for a touchdown. I'm sure you knew at that moment, Dave, Tennessee's not losing that game, right? There's no way in heck they're losing that game.
Had a pretty good feel. At that very point that Tennessee was in good shape. All right, so your 5 bowl. Yes, you were going to say?
I just have to do the reverse 1 second for this, because that was the same year. We just brought 2 momentum swings. That was the same year where Tennessee's trailing Georgia 13-7 and is about to punch it in for a touchdown to go up 14-13 at halftime. And they fumble the ball, and Sean Jones returns it 99 yards the other way for a touchdown.
There's a part of me that still believes that play never happened, because it was such a game-changing play.
There was no way Tennessee was going to win that game, right?
No. Other than a guy named Leon Lett, I don't know that you could have expected a game any more than what you did. All right, so our 5 bold predictions for the upcoming 2024 season, brought to you by our friends at TriStar Hats. For the latest in TriStar Hats, go to the original hats, apparel, and more, TriStarHatsCo.com. TriStarHatsCo.com. Use the promo code HOOK, get 10% off. Caleb, bold prediction numero uno for the college football season is?
The only at-large college football playoff teams, and there are 7 of them, 7 of the 12 are at-large, they will all come from the SEC and the Big Ten. Meaning every other conference will only have 1 team in the playoff.
Hey now. No, I hit the wrong button.
That's crazy.
They're not going to do that.
Yes, they will.
I think they should, but they're not going to do that. They're going to have 2 Big 12 teams in there. I don't know. They'll have 2 ACC. I don't know. But listen, I don't believe in their integrity of putting the 12 best teams in. I believe that they're going to make decisions based off politics. And by the way, I've looked at the committee for the college football playoff, and there's only 2 people with SEC ties. So I think this could be biased the other way. In other words, if we make the argument that the SEC should get 5 teams in and it's close, I think they'll get 4. If it's
wait
4,
a minute.
I think they'll get 3. I think the Big 12 will get 2.
No, I think you actually have a stronger case for the ACC because of Florida State and Clemson. Dave, I think you're forgetting the realignment. Name who you think the best team in the Big 12 is this year.
I mean, I'm not forgetting the realignment. I think they'll
Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Utah, Colorado, Arizona. You think they'll find 2 in that group? No.
I hope I'm wrong.
Your best argument is that Notre Dame gets an at-large bid, and then this doesn't actually come into fruition. But okay. I think you and I both think Notre Dame may actually have some trouble this year.
Notre Dame's trending down. I mean, they hired a players coach. I've got some pretty good sources up there. That's not going to go well for them this year, and it's going to go worse this year, and they're going to be looking for a coach in 2026. All right. What's another bold prediction?
So next one, you just brought it. Coach. You just brought it up, and I'm going to say it. You're wrong. 5 SEC teams are going to make the college football playoff. 5. This is we are entering a season, Dave. We enter the 12-team playoff in a year where the SEC, many of the teams are as good as they have ever been. And Or even if they're trending down, they're still really good and not trending down enough to fall out of the playoff. So 5 SEC teams are making the college football playoff.
That's crazy.
All right. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be right. I'm not saying they won't be. That of the 12 best teams at the end of the year, 5 won't be SEC teams. However, Caleb, too many politics at play. I've heard the number 5, not just from you. I think Andy Staples had mentioned it when we spoke to him in Dallas. But Caleb, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying 5 till I see 5. I mean, to have almost half of the playoff from one conference, I just don't think the College Football Playoff Committee will do that. I hope you're right. You should be right, but I don't think it'll happen.
But Dave, I think you're, all due respect, I think you're forgetting that it's no longer 2003, 2004. Do you really think there's bias against the SEC anymore? They are too valuable of a commodity. You said it yourself. It's a TV show. Who's going to draw the ratings? The SEC teams. I think if it's close, the SEC team will get the nod more often than not. Look at last year. Alabama got the nod over Florida State. They should have, despite 8 of the 12 committee members being from the ACC.
It's a great point. I hope you're right. What's your next bold prediction?
All right, my next one, number 3. There will be one conference that has multiple teams finish undefeated. Because of the stupid realignment, you have 16, 17, and 18 team conferences now where teams are only playing 8 conference games. So the ACC has a 17-team conference with 8 conference games and no divisions.
So you mean undefeated within conference?
No, undefeated. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Undefeated within conference. Undefeated within conference. And what I mean by that is there will be, at the end of the year, one of the leagues will have 3 teams undefeated in their conference, and they're going to have to axe one of them from the conference championship game.
I wouldn't rule that out. Or 1 undefeated and 3 one-loss teams. And then you're going to have to... Yeah, or 2 one-loss teams. Or yeah, I think both the ACC... the ACC more than anybody is going to have a real problem when it comes to determining its 2 champions or its ultimate champion, because I think there's a bunch of teams. Same for the Big 12, as you pointed out. What else, Caleb?
But it's going to be an issue for the SEC too. There's going to be chaos, by the way, in picking the 2 teams for the conference title games. I think the majority of the conferences, it's going to be chaos and controversial in how they get the top 2 in there.
It's funny. I was thinking about that. I don't think it's going to be chaos and people are going to get upset, because I think whoever doesn't make the championship game, which I hate this, but they'll say, I'd rather not play in it and stay healthier and make the college football playoff.
If you're in the SEC or the Big 10, if you're in the Big 12 or the ACC, that might be what kicks you out of the college football playoff. So that's where the issue comes in.
Very
All right,
true.
so
there are only, if you had to pick real quick, just off the top of your head, 5 teams from the ACC and Big 12 combined that are true college football playoff contenders, off the top of your head.
Okay, I can't, because I can only name 2, and they're both from the ACC, and that's Florida State and Clemson. The Big 12 is going to get a team in by default, and I would say that's going to be Utah. But the 5 most likely, and I'm not saying they're contenders, but the 5 most likely are Florida State, Clemson, Arizona, Utah, and Kansas State.
Okay. If I'm any of those teams, I'm concerned if I don't win my conference, as you mentioned earlier. But I do think there will be politics in play to help at least one of those conferences out and get 2 teams in. But we'll see. Go ahead. What's your next bold prediction?
All right, 2 more. So there's going to be 2 teams are going to play each other 3 times this year. And that's either going to happen with the SEC or the Big 10. Meaning... I think
that'll happen twice, couldn't it?
It could happen multiple ways, yeah. I think maybe Michigan plays Ohio State. What if Michigan might play Ohio State in November? They may play Ohio State for the Big 10 championship, and then they may play them in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I don't think that's bold. I think that I will go so far as to say you will have 3 sets of 2 teams that will play each other 3 times.
See, I don't think that's going to happen, because that would have to be from 3 separate conferences, and I think only 2 are going to have multiple teams in the college football playoff this year. So that's the only reason I wouldn't go there. But I get what you're saying. I'm sticking with 1, but maybe it's not as bold as you think. And here's my number 1 one. Y'all are going to hate me on this, but I told you this would happen with the new format, and it's going to happen. 1 team is going to throw a big game. And when I mean throw a big game, I mean they're going to rest their starters for a top 10 matchup, or they're not going to show up to play that hard for a conference title game because they don't want to risk injury for the college football playoff, because the bye is not worth the risk. The reward of the bye is not worth the risk because you don't get a home game with the bye.
I don't think football is a sport you could do that. You brought that up in basketball. I think you were onto something early, and I think Tennessee was just perfectly fine with getting out of the SEC tournament. But I don't think you can do that in football. I think that's a great way to get yourself hurt. Now, if you just sit your starters, then yes, you could lose a game on purpose. However, if you do that, you're going to get a call from every person that's involved with college football that has the term commissioner or anything. They're not going to be happy about that. If you're to roll out there and you're talking about a conference championship game, is that basically what you're referring to?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
If you roll out there and do that, I can tell you one thing. Greg Sankey's going to be on the phone with you. And depending on what power you think he has, you might never do that again. I think that would be an incredibly bad move.
Dave, let me ask you this. Last year, Michigan and Ohio State were actually the last 2 years. Michigan and Ohio State have been undefeated when they face off with each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this year, end of November, Michigan and Ohio State are undefeated. They are going to play for the Big Ten title no matter what. They're going to face each other in the Big Ten title game no matter what. They also know that the winner of that Big Ten title game is going to get a first-round bye in the playoff. The game, neither side's going to care about it. It's not going to have any bearing on the season whatsoever. So that is the situation you've set up. What happens then? What do you do? If you're Ryan Day or if you're Sherrod Moore and you're both undefeated and you know that you're about to have a rematch in the Big Ten title game, and that rematch will be for the first round bye in the college football playoff, why try to win or play your starters at all for that regular season game?
Now, if you make a good point, but what if you win the first game 45-3 and the other team just barely sneaks out a victory in the title game? I mean, you could make an argument that they're 1-1, and that's the more impressive victory.
But see, they have the auto bids. It's the team that wins the conference that gets the auto bid, the auto buy. So, or another one. I don't think Auburn's going to be that good, but can't you see a scenario with Alabama and Auburn being in that situation at the end of the year in the SEC? One day, both undefeated. The winner, they're going to play for a rematch for the SEC title. And
one day, not this year, but one day. I could.
Yeah.
The show represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Other attorneys say they will go to trial. They won't. Play to win. Tennessee's trial attorney, Banks and Jones. One of the coaches that Tennessee fans wanted desperately. A lot of you said something incredibly stupid. Give me 30 seconds. I'll tell you what it is. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? Banks and Jones, T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. All right, Caleb, what did Mike Gundy say? And there were times that I thought Mike Gundy played Tennessee to get a raise from Oklahoma State. As a matter of fact, I think there was at least twice that he had no intentions of going to Tennessee, just wanted to flirt with him to improve his standing, which he's done. I mean, there's no question. No coach has been in the school longer and done less than Mike Gundy. What did he say most recently that should further undermine his ability to have success as a coach in college football?
So I'm going to be as fair to him as possible first, because Mike Gundy basically pointed out in the post-House vs. NCAA settlement, he has no issues with players negotiating for NIL, trying to get more money. He's all for that. He's all for their rights. But he said that once fall camp hits, the time to bargain for NIL deals and roster spots is gone, and all attention must now shift to the season. His quote is that, here's his exact quote. The good news is the next 5 months we can just play football. There's no negotiating now. The portal's closed. All the negotiations history. Now we're playing football. The business side of what we do now, we have to have those conversations with them. Tell your agent to quit calling us and asking us for more money. It's non-negotiable now. I'll start again in December.
Okay. Then Dalton Connect would have missed out on a major payday because he did a commercial for a local Mexican restaurant, a franchise. And it ran during, I don't know if it ran where you watched it because we all have different providers, but it was obviously put together very quickly. And it was because he had turned into a star. I don't know what he got, but I would be surprised if it wasn't $5,000. So are you going to tell a guy during this season that he can't go make his $5,000 because he's playing so well for you that he's a story and that you're now a story? Caleb, that is not going to go over well in the locker room. And I got another reason why this is a stupid idea, and it has to do with time management. But Caleb, first of all, players, if they want to go make their own deals, he can't legally stop them, which they should be doing anyway. But Caleb, I'll offer you this other thing. If he has that much of a concern about it, he should tell his players not to go to class because they have an opportunity to maximize their worth right now. And if they take time off, I don't think that college football players should have to go to class anymore. If that time is then spent to run their brand and take advantage of the situation that they're in at that point, there has always been a rule at the University of Tennessee. You can come back and get your degree if you're 65 years old and you're on scholarship once. It doesn't matter. You can come back and get your degree. This is the time where the NIL money is getting to which you could change your family tree financially. We're talking hundreds, if not millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So Caleb, he can't control this. This is one of the most ignorant statements I've heard in a long, long time.
Yeah, and here's the biggest problem with it. Guys, this is not like the NFL, and I think he approaches it like the NFL. In the NFL, you play well. Yeah, in the season, you're playing well. You're not going to have your agent like say, "Hey, get it." You may not have you may not negotiate for a bigger deal in the season. You'll wait till the off season, but you have like a whole future ahead of you. You're a 4-year kid in college football, and many times college football is the maximum you'll be able to play at. What if you're a senior and you're a breakout star in October? You're telling me you can't negotiate for more money until after the season's over?
Let me ask you this too, Caleb. What if you're a 6-3 Oklahoma State football team? You really have nothing to play for, okay? Because you're not going to play for a championship, and you're telling me because I've already rushed for 1,000 yards. I'm the breakout player. My name's Bob running back, okay? I've rushed for 1,000 yards. I'm a superstar. I'm the one bright spot on this team. I'm Eric Berry in 2008, okay? I'm that guy. And you're telling me I can't go out and take advantage of my worth at that very moment because it's not going to be there after you're gone. Nobody, I can't tell you how many people have gotten involved with NIL and then the player transferred to, I don't know, Louisville. Well, what do you think all that autograph stuff's worth? It's not worth anything.
No, not at all.
So you have an opportunity to maximize your earnings at that moment. This to me is anti-American. It's more than dumb. It's anti-American.
I agree. Now, if some people are saying that it's not about endorsements, it's about negotiating through the school now because of House versus NCAA, you can negotiate through the school. It's still wrong. It's still wrong because, again, you have you don't get another year on a contract in college. You should still be allowed to negotiate more money, even through your school if you're doing well. And by the way, Dave, this will end real fast. If Ollie Gordon III has Oklahoma State in the college football playoff race in November and he's rushing for 2,000 yards and he decides like 2 weeks left in the season, I'm going to sit out for more money. Do you honestly think Mike Gundy wouldn't let him renegotiate for more money? when he's got a college football playoff berth on the line.
I would be negotiating for more money. And I know Travis pointed out he's saying the school is going to give money during the season, not independent stuff. But you can't tell me that Mike Gundy, if he's taking this stance and you say, hey, coach, I got a photo shoot, so I'm going to miss study hall, that he's not going to have a problem with that. He's going to have a problem with that. Overall statement, why is class a part of this anymore? Do you think class should be a part of this?
Classes are pointless. I think you should, like you said, you should be able to hold. First of all, they're like, oh, it's about educating the student athletes. The kids aren't even allowed to major in certain things if it conflicts with their football schedule. So if that's the case, you're already shortening their education anyway. Why not let them focus on football, try their future, and then you tell them up front, if it doesn't work, you can always come back and get your degree and go to school for 4 years. We will cover it. We will cover your housing, your food, and everything. And that way they can focus on football. And by the way, here's the better thing. I encourage people to wait. Nowadays, I think people should wait till they're in their 20s to go to college anyway, Dave, because I think a lot of people jump into college with no idea what they want to do. These kids will be older. They'll be more mature. They'll know, okay, my NFL career didn't work out. Now I can go back to college and pursue a degree that, hey, maybe I know what I want to do now. So I've always been a fan of that. And then also, as for, I got a great example of this, Dave, because my concern is not always for I said Ollie Gordon, but those kids are going to go to the NFL and make money. I'm talking a lot of times about the players that they're seniors and they know they're not going to the NFL. This is their last chance. Let's go to 1985. Tony Robinson goes down with an injury. Darrell Dickey comes in. Darrell Dickey knows more than anybody else he's not going to the NFL, right?
Yes.
He comes in October. You're telling me he shouldn't have a chance to renegotiate for some more money when this is his only opportunity ever to do it, leading Tennessee and route to an SEC championship season?
Yes, I definitely would. I mean, that's my only shot.
Yeah.
And the roles of these things are state to state. Let's remember this. So Mike Gundy can say, don't call me, because apparently they're in a state in which he's allowed to be involved in the negotiations. But Josh Heupel isn't. Which this is the other side of that, of why the laws need to be universal. Because if they were, then Josh Heupel wouldn't worry about his guys going out and looking for too many endorsements. I mean, let's face it, you could do this to a fault, right? If you're more worried about getting cash than football. But I look at guys like Cooper Mays, and he's told me at times, I'm too busy to do the ball report with fall camp, preseason camp going on. I'm like, I get that. So one will drop later this evening, by the way. But and to me, you can't tell a college football player or an American that you can't start a landscaping business on the side. If Nico comes to Josh Heupel and says, I've always wanted to do landscaping, and I think I'm going to do that on the side, you can't tell him not to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And yes, it sounds like a slippery slope. It certainly does.
And also to Todd's question, in this scenario, if a player doesn't produce, can they cut their NIL? You don't think that's happening, Todd? You don't think there's contracts involved that in those contracts, it's like you have to produce this much to continue to make this much? That's happening in NIL deals across the country now. And many of them are performance-based. Kirby Smart just encouraged his collective to cut player salaries if they get in trouble with the law now. Or to cut players' money.
Let me ask you this too: if a freshman comes in, who's the last freshman phenom we've seen? True freshman in college football.
The last true freshman phenom?
Yes.
There's probably somebody last year. I'm just not sure. I'd have to look that up. But
find one for me. And I remind you that we want you to be a part of Hooker's Corner, because you can win fantastic prizes, just $9.98. We've got a Joe Milton mini helmet autographed by the man himself, Joe Milton. It's right over my shoulder. Take advantage of that. And also, we would love for you to purchase the Celebrate 98 book, The Untold Stories Behind Tennessee's 1998 National Championship. So give me a freshman phenom.
Well, the one who transferred to Iowa recently, Caden Proctor, that Alabama offensive lineman, I mean, he was a stud. And so,
I'm talking about more like a Johnny Manziel. I'm just going to give you a for example. Manziel redshirted, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't. He started. He was a sophomore by the time he started. Jameis Winston. What about Jameis Winston? Redshirt freshman, won the Heisman, won the national title.
Okay, let's just pretend he's not redshirt. Okay, so he shows up on campus, so he's got the base deal, right? He's got the base 4 or 5 star deal, which let's just say is $100,000 a year. And he goes out there and he pulls a Johnny Manziel or Mike Vick or Jameis Winston in his freshman year. You're telling me round about October, you're not going to be able to call and say, Coach, I've kind of exceeded anybody's expectations. I deserve more money. And the coach is going to say no. Well, then if I'm the player, I'm like, then maybe I don't want to risk my future to injury in this next game. Maybe I should sit a while till you get that worked out. What Mike Gundy and all college coaches need to learn is they haven't lost complete leverage, but they've lost a lot of leverage.
Particularly when the college football playoff is not just 2 games now. It's 3 to 4. You're asking a player who's an NFL draft pick to play 4 postseason games, maybe 5 if there's a conference title game. And you're asking them to play 5 postseason games for you to potentially win a national title, and you don't think they should get paid extra for that? You don't think they have a right to ask for more money when they're putting their bodies on the line and risking their NFL futures in the process?
I'd have a guy standing outside the stadium that would give out like $500 per sack, $5 per yard from scrimmage. I mean, just make it all. I mean, there is nothing, literally nothing that the NCAA can do anymore. So for Mike Gundy to take this stand is pretty idiotic.
It is.
He's never idiotic. It's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. We're with you weekdays at 10 a.m. I'll remind you the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Banks & Jones Criminal Defense, Personal Injury, banksandjones.com, Tennessee's trial attorney. Other attorneys say they go to trial. They don't. That's what T. Scott Jones does. Banksandjones.com. We'll talk to you the next time, but we're live each and every weekday at 10 a.m. on YouTube. For Caleb, I'm Dave. This has been a presentation of